Hello there once again. I hope this episode finds you well, fellow shellmates. We are on now episode 16 of El Camino de Santiago Pilgrims podcast, where we talk about planning, preparation and packing for life on the road to Santiago, for walking the road to Santiago. And we also explore tips, tricks and hacks to make your journey along the way a lot more enjoyable. So to that end, this week we have a wonderful interview with a lovely enchanting lady all the way from Los Angeles, California. Her name is Rachelle Smith. She's a visual storyteller, and we began the interview, our chat, as always, by asking exactly when and where she made the decision to walk the Camino. Here's what she had to say.
Okay, well, it's kind of a long time in coming. As you well know, and probably are aware of the movie The Way that came out quite a few years ago. I saw the trailer for it and it piqued my interest, kind of tucked it away in the back of my head, never saw the movie. But then it just kind of kept coming up every few years. And on one particular hike, I was with a girlfriend. We were walking and we were talking about bucket list items. And I happened to mention the Camino de Santiago. She didn't know anything about it. I told her what it was and why I wanted to do it and how it just interested me, when a group of hikers started walking towards us, and they all had little name tags on there. And the name tags intrigued me as well. I stopped one of the hikers and asked them, are you guys from a group? And they said, yes, actually, we're all from the American Pilgrims on the Camino. And I thought, oh my gosh, if this is not a sign, I don't know what is. I need to look into this further. So at that moment, I decided, okay, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to do it. Let's do it next year. I want to do it next year. And that was 2017. So I was thinking 2018, I'm going to make this happen. But, things kind of fell by the wayside and I didn't quite get on the ball with making plans. But I had decided that I was going to be quitting my job soon. And I thought, well, this would be the perfect opportunity. 2019, in January, I booked my ticket to Madrid and everything else just sort of fell into place. And there I was on the Camino before I knew it. And it was the best decision I could have ever made. And no regrets at all. And I would do it a million times over.
And what a coincidence as well that you were talking about it with that walk on your friend and then you met a group of hikers.
Like literally minutes after I had talked about the Camino, this group come towards me and I just thought, I can't ignore this anymore. So
how spooky is that?
That's exactly. It was meant to be, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's often said the Camino chooses you rather than the other way around, and it looks like that was the case here.
Yeah, I think so.
So you've just recently come back. Tell everyone when where you started and where you finished, and how did you get to that starting point from the USA?
Oh, okay. So I did start in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. And in order to get there, what I did was I traveled to Madrid, and I chose Madrid specifically just because the airfare just happened to be very good at the time. So I flew into Madrid. I took a 1-hour regional flight from Madrid to Pamplona. And then from Pamplona, I took the 2-hour bus ride to Saint-Jean. And it worked very seamlessly. I didn't have any issues whatsoever. I was vlogging along the way. So I was doing like a video diary for my family and friends that I uploaded to YouTube. And so I have that on my channel. And so it's all very well documented. And you can see from start to finish kind of how I feel about the whole situation. But it was great. I got to Saint-Jean, had a wonderful day, and met my first sort of Camino family, I guess you could say. But so it just all fell into place after that first day.
So you went from Los Angeles to Madrid, then you got a regional flight to Pamplona, and there's actually you said there was a bus that you took from Pamplona to Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port.
I took a bus. Yes, I did. I took the bus. It was about a 2 hour bus ride.
That's not too much, actually. I thought it'd be more than that.
No, no, it was about 2 hours. It was kind of windy, and it was really, now in hindsight, I look back and I think, wow, that's really interesting because you kind of saw the Camino going backwards, going into Roncesvalles, through Roncesvalles, and then going, yeah. So it's just very interesting. It really made me so excited to see what I was going to be doing, in just a matter of a day, walking through those same towns and villages. So yeah,
Yeah,
it was a lot
yeah.
of fun.
It's very strange, actually, when you finish as well, and you end up. I finished in Finisterre and the Camino Frances, and I ended up
Mm.
taking a bus from Finisterre to Barcelona.
Hmm.
And it's really weird because everything is just taking you a month to walk. You do in the next kind of 10 hours. And
Oh, yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, it's just kind of, just going back to review it all again on this bus ride, and when you're on the bus and you see the church spire, kind of rise up in the distance, you're like, oh, I missed that. I wish I
Oh,
was seeing
yeah.
that again. So, all right, so
Yeah,
we're at the start. You're a visual storyteller. That's what you
I
tag
am.
yourself as. Is there where, just while we're thinking of that and talking about that, can you tell the listeners where they'll
Mm.
be able to see your Camino visually?
Oh, sure, absolutely. So I have a YouTube channel. It's called I'll Get There, all one word. And I have uploaded up to day 10. It's taken me a while, it's a lot of footage and I still need to edit it. And I just wanted to experience the Camino as it happened rather than, feel the obligation to get these videos out there, every day. But I have every intention to continue uploading in the coming weeks. So they can find me on YouTube. The channel again is I'll Get There.
So I'll get there and look for that on YouTube, and you will
Hmm.
find Rachelle's Camino told in a visual fashion. All right, so that's the way to
Yes,
go.
thank you.
Brilliant. No, thank you. And like I say, thanks again for your time this morning. And so we're at the start. We're in Saint Jean Pierre de Port, and a lot of problems that
Hmm.
pilgrims get at the start. I certainly did. Even on my second and third Caminos was blisters. How did you deal
Mm.
with or prevent them?
Well, I really wanted to just overall make an easy start of the whole journey. It was going to be a long one, I knew, and I thought, well, I'm going to ease into it. I'm an avid hiker here back home, and even though I know I can do the mileage and I can, it's not a problem, I wanted to make sure because this was going to be day after day after day after day after day, and I had never done anything like that. I've never done a long through hike. So I wanted to make sure I eased into it. I stopped at Orison. I made sure to make a reservation there. I had heard so many wonderful things about the experience at that particular albergue or the at that hostel.
Rochelle,
And
would you mind just for the listeners
yes,
explaining where Orison is and the purpose that it serves?
Orison is just a short stop after Saint-Jean. So you make the climb. So traditionally, if you're looking at these guidebooks like the Brearley or the Village to Village, any of these guidebooks, they're broken down into stages. And they're popular stages where you've got a starting point and an end point that are recommended by whoever the writer is. Um, the traditional end of the first stage is Roncesvalles, which is the monastery. But oftentimes people do stop short of that, which is what I decided to do. I stopped at Orison, which was, I think it's like 7 or 8 kilometers just up from Saint Jean. So it's a very short day. It's still physically demanding, don't get me wrong.
It breaks
But
up that climb, doesn't it?
it breaks up the climb. It gives you the opportunity to meet so many wonderful new pilgrims, returning pilgrims, veterans, and also just like brand new, fresh, just like me, green pilgrims have never done this before. But the communal dinner is just fantastic. You go around, you meet people, everybody goes around and says why they're doing it. And it's just a wonderful first I guess like just a welcome to the whole experience, the community, the fellowship, just all of it. So I recommend staying at Orison if you want to break up your day, if you want to just kind of take an easy day about it. There were plenty of people that went on to Roncesvalles and just used Orison as like a, kind of like a breaking, like a lunch stop or something like that. But yeah, that's where Orison is.
So you're in Orison and you're probably, on your halfway up your first day. And how are your feet dealing? How are your legs dealing? How are you feeling? Blisters wise, muscles wise, your
I'm feeling
state of
fine.
mind? Have you got that
I'm feeling out
first
of
day
breath.
excitement? Yeah,
First, yeah, yes, all of that, all of it. The adrenaline, just, you just want to get up the hill. You just want to get to Ursul because you're so excited and you want to see, the beauty of it all. I mean, the Pyrenees,
the
it's
views are
just,
incredible, aren't they?
oh gosh. I mean, I traveled here in the fall, but still the weather was just perfect, and it was just lovely. And yeah, so I would say break up your day. This is what I did to, avoid blisters and things. Kind of take it easy. I made sure 100% that my shoes were well fitted. I bought my shoes a half size larger, which worked for me. And the particular shoes I used were Ultra Lone Peak 4.0s. And I chose those specifically because they had a very wide toe box. Um, so there was no like excessive rubbing anywhere on my feet. I Along the way, I made sure if I felt a hot spot, I would treat it with just tape to reduce friction. I wore wool socks, are very highly recommended, and I would recommend them as well. They are nice and thick, and they wick away moisture, they keep your feet warm, and they don't hold odor as much, so that's a plus, when you're traveling and you've only got a limited supply of clothes and undergarments and things like that. People recommended to use some Vaseline to help lubricate to reduce the friction to avoid blisters. I actually brought a small canister of Vicks Vapor Rub, which is basically the same. It's just petroleum jelly with some menthol and camphor, which actually helped to cool my feet. But pretty soon after like the first, few days, I kind of did away with that kind of the Vicks. Um, but yeah, I would say be kind to your body. Like this whole thing, it's a physically demanding activity. So be kind to your body, listen to it. If at all possible beforehand, train with your like a weighted pack so that your feet can kind of get used to extra weight and carrying that extra weight. And also, if you're into pedicures, I would suggest don't get a pedicure and soften your skin. I would suggest to, just build up the skin, some calluses, toughen up your feet so that they're not so susceptible to some blisters. But that's what those would be my tips for trying to avoid blisters. And truth be told, I was very fortunate and did not really get a whole lot of blisters. I probably got one blister on each heel, that basically went away on their own. I did a little bit of bandaging just to take the pressure off of it, and they kind of just dissipated. And then on one particular occasion, I did have some blisters on one little toe, and I think it was just because my skin was already softened from there was some rain and stuff. So yeah,
Right.
but those would be my tips for avoiding blisters.
Wow, there you
Helped
have it,
me, I think.
everybody. Fellow Peregrinos, a blister prevention masterclass there from Rachelle Smith. We're just going to summarise though, because you did fly through those, and it was
I
great tips.
know.
No, great tips. So you said well-fitted shoes, and obviously, if people aren't experiencing that, you could just go to like an outdoor sports shop and speak to the experts, and they can help you with that. But
Absolutely.
you said yours were half a size larger, okay, to allow
Hmm.
space for those wool socks that you said to wear, which obviously take the heat out and don't get as smelly, which is a great thing. Sports tape put on those hot spots. Vicks Vapor Rub or some Vaseline to put on your feet before
Hmm.
walking, and maybe during the day if you want to do that as well. And don't get a pedicure. There you go. Don't soften your feet up
Well,
with a
you can
pedicure.
get a pedicure. You can get a pedicure just to make sure they don't slough off that skin that you've worked so hard to build up, you know?
Exactly, exactly. And more importantly, it's not only break your feet in, but break your body in as well.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So just, it's fine to just jump in if you want to, but, expect that these things might come up if you haven't,
Yeah,
at least mentally prepared and,
yeah.
have them, yeah, in the back of your head.
Great stuff. And so let's shift gears a little bit to that you've
Mm,
mentioned that you stayed in the Alberg in Orissan. I'm sure you would have stayed in quite a few more. And have you got
mm.
any Alberg stories? Something funny, something memorable. Like for example, a couple of episodes
Oh,
ago, someone's bag of nuts fell from the top bunk to the bottom bunk, and the person on top asked the person on the bottom during the night if they could have their nuts back, which I thought, which I thought was quite funny.
oh,
Anything
that's
along those
pretty
lines?
funny.
Anything along those lines?
I don't know about funny
Or
stories,
just something
but
memorable, but yeah, and it could have been
something
like a
memorable.
horror
Oh
story,
gosh.
even. I don't know. Yeah,
Oh God, maybe the monster snorer that we had in
yeah.
Poblacion de Campos. Oh my word. Oh my word. Yeah, and when I got into Roncesvalles, actually, that was the first night that I had encountered snorers. In Orison, we didn't have that issue. Roncesvalles was like a symphony. Like literally, I had one person next to my right, another gentleman to my left, and then across the aisle there was another. So they were just like this trio.
Harmonizing.
Oh my goodness, it was something else, and definitely the earplugs came in handy. So if you are not planning on bringing them, I would second guess that and just go ahead and throw them in. I actually brought 4 pairs of earplugs, and by like the third week, I had lost 2 pairs, and I wanted to make sure I had more, so I picked up more along the way.
Because they
But
fall out your
definitely bring
ears.
those
Yeah,
earplugs.
they can tend to
Yes,
fall out
for
your ears. So,
sure.
and if you are going into, if you lose them, like Rochelle just said,
Mm.
you can go into a pharmacy and ask for some tapones. Okay, so that's the word for earplugs in Spanish.
Aha, yes,
Tapones. Not like I did
fantastic.
when I first did my first Camino. I actually went into the pharmacy and asked. I just kind of threw together a sentence that made logical sense to me, and I said, "Las cosas para enchufar aquí." Which kind of means something to plug into electrocute my ears, which probably, it's not a good idea. So, yeah, definitely go for tapones and then you won't get electrocuted. So, great stuff.
Sounds good.
We also had someone mention like to get more privacy in the albergs, like try and score a bottom bunk if you can, and you
Mm,
can use like a towel
yeah.
of some kind, Turkish towel,
Yes, you can.
as a privacy screen. You can hang it up,
Hmm.
and that way, if
Yeah,
people,
that's a really good tip. I didn't do that personally. I didn't have a problem sleeping once I had the earplugs in. That really, it was just the sound was, the thing that really kept me awake, if anything.
yeah,
But I did see a lot of Turkish towels. I saw some scarves. I brought a scarf, and that was indispensable. That would be one of the items that I brought that I didn't think I needed, but I ended up using it like nearly every day for just to keep to keep the wind away and just all kinds of things. Other albergue tips, I would say, I don't know if people have mentioned it on your podcast, but an S hook for the shower situation, or if you want to hang anything off of the side of your bed, that is very handy. I used that several times, and so I would say earplugs and an S hook for albergues, and just expect snorers. Just,
mm,
it's gonna happen. And people can't help it. I've been told that when I am exhausted, I snore, and as much as I don't want to, I can't help it. So just be kind. I think that's the one of the lessons from the Camino is just be kind to people and be compassionate. And I think for the most part, that will just, if we could take that from the Camino to just quote unquote real life,
mm.
the world would be an amazing place.
It
So
would, wouldn't it? It really
yeah,
would.
yeah,
If the
it really,
world was
really would.
like everyone was on the Camino, the world would be a much better place to be. And also, I think
Yeah.
on the Camino, people tend to be the best versions of themselves. I think the Camino brings the best out of
Mm-hmm.
people, the adventure, the
Oh, so much
freedom,
so.
and you are. I think by
Yeah.
the end of it, you're seeing everyone at their best, and that's one of the most
Yeah.
beautiful things about it. And
Yes.
just to go back to what you mentioned about the Alberg, the S hook, that's just for kind of
Mm.
hanging your backpack on if you don't want to put it on the floor or something like
Um,
that, or
yeah, just some sort of like a hook. Some people have like paint can hooks or just something to hook in the showers. Sometimes they don't have like a little hook for you to put your toiletries bag or your extra clothes or a
Yeah.
towel or something like that. So it just comes in handy so you don't have to put anything on the ground in the shower, which kind of can be a little questionable. Which also you may want to bring flip-flops. That I 100% I would
Hmm.
take fit flip-flops.
Yeah.
You just never know what's on the shower
Not
floor.
only that, it
So
gives your feet some
and
air
S
at the
hook
end of the
and
day as well.
flip-flops.
It gives your
Yeah,
feet some air at the
absolutely.
end of the
Something to
day.
walk
Yeah,
around in.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
the air hook is a great
Yeah.
tip. And, just to get back to what you said about the snoring in the albergues, just remember, maybe you've
Yes.
paid €5, €10 for a bed for the night. I mean, that
Yeah.
really is peanuts compared
Yeah.
to what you would pay in a hotel. So, it's like if you go into McDonald's and complain about the service, it's a fast food restaurant, and or complain about the quality of the food. It's a fast food restaurant. Just remember that, you've paid very little to stay there, and it is a gift. The
Yes.
albergues are an absolute gift to have these things scattered all along the way, specifically for pilgrims. It really is a gift. So, I mean, whenever I found myself getting a little bit
Right.
irate stupidly, I would just have a word with myself and say, but you've paid nothing to be here, kind of thing.
Right.
And often by the end of the day, you've walked so far, you're so knackered that you just kind of fall and
Mm,
sleep anyway, don't you? So but yeah,
absolutely.
that's some really, really nice tips and advice there. You've given a nice perspective that you've put on things as well. And you mentioned
Thank
the
you.
scarf. That was one thing that you ended
Mm,
up using a lot more than you
yes.
because you've walked in the autumn because you only finished walking in October, didn't you?
Yes,
And we're
that's
now at the
correct.
beginning of November. Is there one thing though you packed and you didn't end up using along the way, and you would never pack again?
Ah, well, truth be told, I I have to say I'm patting myself on the back that I packed really, really well. And I probably used, if not myself, someone that I traveled with was able to use. So I feel like I used about 98, 99% of what I packed. I did have some superfluous things in there that I thought I needed because we quote unquote pack for our fears, all those kinds of things. I did pack a very, very light head net for bugs. I thought, well, there might be bugs, and I don't want to be swatting at swatting them from my face like, all day long for hours and hours. So I brought a very lightweight head net that took up no space and weighed practically nothing. I took some bug spray because I thought in Galicia, it's wetter and maybe there might be some bugs, and I have bad reactions to bug bites. So I took some bug spray and I carried that for basically most of the trip, and I threw it away as I got closer to Santiago, and I noticed I didn't need it in Galicia as much as I thought I did. And then I also packed like a little canister of what do you call them, like electrolyte tablets that you can
Hmm.
dissolve in water. I thought, I'll just bring a small supply, and if I need them, great. If I don't, I'll toss them. But I ended up just carrying them with me. So those are the very small things. I did take some things, as I mentioned, that I personally didn't use, but people that I traveled with did use. Like I took a knee brace because I do have knee issues occasionally, and miraculously, I don't know why, and I'm not complaining, but I didn't have any knee issues. And a woman I was walking with in the very, very early days, um, as we were just getting used to this whole physical exertion thing and the hills coming down from Roncesvalles, she really, really needed some support, and we couldn't get to a pharmacy right away. So she used my knee brace and she used my ACE bandage, and she had a better time about it. So I don't regret taking and carrying that extra weight because someone else was able to use it. So um, those really were the only things that I really didn't use. I really used everything in my pack, so I think I packed very, very well for the time of year that I went.
So barring the head net, really everything else came in really, really handy.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And I carried some extra arnica tablets because I thought I needed that, and some extra ibuprofen, even though I knew I could get to a pharmacy and pick up those things. And I was kind of like a little dispensary, and I was more than welcome. More than happy to share what I had with other pilgrims. And I think that's, again, part of the Camino spirit. People are willing to share and help other people if they see someone, in discomfort. you want to help them because you know how hard it is. You know how hard the day is already. And if you can do something to help that person, I was more than willing to do that. So I, yeah, I was able to use everything. Like I said, if not myself, I was able to help somebody else. So yeah, no
Beautiful.
regrets.
And how heavy was your pack? Did you carefully plan how heavy your pack would be?
Yes, so I did the whole gear list video thing, and at the end of it, I packed my backpack, and then also I had like a crossbody bag where I kept all my purse. What do you call them? Like the documents, like my passport and my pilgrim's credential, and
Your
all the things
valuables,
that I
yeah.
wanted to keep secure, all of those things. So all in all, that was about 19 pounds, which to some people, oh no, that's too much. It's way too much. And, you only go 10% of your body weight. And, that may be well and good for a guideline for maybe a summer Camino where you're not taking a bunch of stuff and you're not accounting for cold weather. But I always, I don't really go by the 10% rule. And by the third week, I was feeling strong. The pack I couldn't feel, and it just became a part of me. And I, in fact, picked up a heavier fleece along the way because it did get chillier than I anticipated. And I didn't feel that at all. I didn't feel the extra weight. So,
I mean that
yeah, you
10%
do
is a
get
guideline, isn't
stronger.
it? Yeah, yeah, it's a guideline, and
It,
yeah,
it it's a guideline. I honestly don't know where it came from, but 10%, I mean, is not realistic if you're small and petite and you're traveling in the fall or winter. I mean, you're gonna need some gear to keep
yeah,
you warm.
yeah.
So,
Maybe it's
yeah. But
a target to aim for, as close as possible.
it it is. I mean, I think rather than put a number on it, I would just say the least amount of things you can bring to to be comfortable is should be the guideline rather than,
Yeah,
put a number on it because
yeah.
it varies from person to person. So
Yeah,
anyway.
most definitely. No, it's very
Yeah.
very good advice. I mean, that is the figure that I have often seen spoken and written of is that the
Hmm.
10%. But
Right.
it's not a rule; it's a guideline, and I think it does take, like you
Exactly.
say, said at the start of the podcast, some practice with a weighted backpack to see what feels
Hmm.
comfortable for you. And that's the most important thing is to trial stuff out, trial and error, test and see what feels best with. So okay,
Oh yeah,
so we talked
absolutely.
about a few of the practicalities. Now let's talk about a few of your favourites. Can you tell us a favourite
Mm.
town, city, village on the Camino? Maybe a story from that place, since you're a visual storyteller,
Oh my
and why?
goodness. Oh my goodness. This is like the favorites questions are probably like the worst questions because like everything is my favorite. It just everything, every place is so special, and it's really hard to pinpoint. If I can cheat a little bit and maybe just throw in like maybe two, two or three. Carrion de los Condes was an amazing experience. I stayed there with the singing nuns. They're famous for singing their little folk music. But it's not the singing that really moved me. It was the Pilgrim's blessing that particular evening. So in various cities, they do have these. Sometimes there's an opportunity to go to a pilgrim's mass or a mass, which is followed by a blessing given by a celebrant, a priest, for pilgrims. For the pilgrims, pilgrims are called up to the front and they're prayed over and just sent off with these blessings to make it to Santiago. But the pilgrim's blessing in Carrion de los Condes moved me to so many tears. I wept so hard. It was beautiful. I was just so moved, and I would say that is one of the most beautiful experiences that I experienced. I think that's redundant on the Camino, but that one definitely stands out um, as a spiritual sort of
That's in the
religious
Meseta, isn't it?
experience.
Carrion de los Condes is in the
Carrión de los
Meseta.
Condes, it's along yes, it's in the flat section. So
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I do believe it is. I mean, all the cities and towns run
That's one of
together
those
at a
towns
certain
that does
point.
shoot up from the plains, doesn't it? When you're walking across the
Yes,
flats and the plains, you do see the
it was
church spire
it was
shoot up. Yeah.
wonderful.
Mm.
Yeah, that was wonderful. And then another one actually in the Meseta, which a lot of people kind of brush off as the part of the Camino that you want to just bus through, or take a cab and just skip. I loved the Meseta. And another town that I stopped in, which really is not much to be said about it. It was just a tiny little place. It was called Moratinos, and there were like two albergues, not much to see, but it was the people. And I think that's a big part of the Camino is the people. We had a rip-roaring time in our little dorm room. I laughed so hard, and I hadn't laughed that hard in a while on the Camino. And we saw a beautiful sunset from the top of this hill, in which there were wine bodegas that were built into the bottom of this hill. And we climbed up to the top of this hill where there was this solitary chair just sitting up there and watched the sunset. It was beautiful. So again, I would pick that for just sentimental reasons, but it's just so many different places, and they all have a little bit of charm and just something about it. And some are beautiful, and just oh, I don't know, just the whole thing was amazing. The whole Camino. I'll pick all the cities. Can I pick all the cities?
You can, and I would probably agree with you on all of them. To be honest, I think there's only one place I didn't feel was nice on the Camino, but the rest of it, it was. It's a life-changing experience, and people can be cynical and say, how can it change your life, but until they've done it, they'll just never know.
Absolutely.
It's like 100%. I guess when someone says to you about being a parent or something like that. I mean, I'm not a parent. I hope to be someday soon, but people say to you, you can prepare for parenthood, but you never know until you get there, kind of thing. And I know they're two completely different things, but you just cannot know until you set foot on that journey, and it is something. I mean, like you said in our pre-interview chat, it was the best decision you ever made. And I remember sitting at a restaurant in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port just on my own and looking out across the Pyrenees, just thinking, I'm so happy I decided to do this. And an unparalleled feeling of contentment I don't think I'd ever known before. So
my gosh,
that
so
happened
many times.
Yeah, I don't know if that you got that feeling along the Camino as well. Just
all the time. I walked the majority of the Camino by myself, and I found myself smiling like most of the day. I'm certain that people who came across me thought she is like just there's something wrong with her. Why is she smiling by herself? But yeah, I would look up at the sky and I would see the beauty of that. And I think that's part of it. I try to appreciate all the little things around me, even if it's not a perfect day, even if it's a hard day. I mean, there's always a silver lining, so I try to look for those. And I found myself smiling a whole lot and being grateful and thankful a whole lot.
That's a great place to be for sure. You mentioned your favourite Moratinos. You said the albergue there was one of your favourites because of the people. Can you remember the name of that albergue specifically?
I don't remember, and it's not so much that particular albergue and that the building itself proper.
Yeah.
It was just the experience that I had in that particular town. But if I had to pick a favorite albergue,
pick one. Go on.
Hands down. Ermita San Nicolas. Oh my goodness. This albergue was I knew I wanted to stop and visit and maybe stay there as I was doing my planning. And if you don't know what that is, it's this small little rectangular building that is directly basically on the Camino. It's a building, like literally you can take 10 steps and you're in the building, and it's run by this confraternity of Italians, and the building has no electricity. It's a very simple structure, and they've got like 8 beds and a communal dinner. And so the previous night I had stayed in Casa Regeris and had a great stay there, and I had planned to walk to Fromista. And as I was walking in the morning, I stopped at San Nicolas at about 10 a.m. and the doors were open. I thought, okay, this is the place I was thinking of staying, but I'm going to Fromista today. I walked inside and looked around and just, when something just clicks and your heart, you just like, I walked out of the building. I thought, okay, I'm going to go to Fromista now. And I just I kept taking like 2 steps and looking back. And then I would take another few steps and I'd look back and I thought, oh gosh, my heart is not letting me walk to Fromista. I'm staying here. 10 o'clock in the morning, I made the decision. So now I have absolutely nothing to do, and it was the best decision again. I'm glad that I gave myself flexibility to have the shorter days. So that would be another tip, if you have extra time, which is a luxury, I know, for most people. But if you have some extra time to play with, give yourself some extra days for those days where you think you might just want to stop in a place because it moves you. And this was one of the best experiences of my entire Camino. I was able to just have some time by myself in the little garden in the back. They have a sort of a symbolic washing of the feet ritual ceremony that they do before a communal dinner. The communal dinner is by candlelight because, again, they have no electricity. After dinner, which was very simple and lovely, and just filled with laughter and wine, vino tinto, it was wonderful. They busted out the guitar, and one of the pilgrims from the Czech Republic started singing songs in Czech, and that was one of the things I was missing. It was music along the Camino, and that just made everything amazing. I went outside to use the restroom, looked up at the sky, and I could see the Milky Way. Like, I could literally see the swirls in the sky. I mean, the whole experience was magical. And then I woke up in the morning. They tell you, don't set your alarm. We're going to wake you up 7 o'clock, right before, I think 6 o'clock or 6 or 7, I don't remember now. They light the candles again because it's dark, and you wake up by candlelight and this very soft Gregorian chant music that's playing. You sit down again for a communal breakfast, which was wonderful, by candlelight again. And then you walk outside the door. We stood in a circle. They said a morning prayer, and we said the Our Father together in a circle. And then they sent us on our way as the sun was rising. And I mean, like, from start to finish, San Nicolas, hands down, my favorite albergue.
Wow.
Sorry, that's a bit long-winded. I
No,
know
no,
I'm a talker.
No, it's great. I mean, I can actually feel the excitement and happiness in your voice as you're telling the story. And that's
It was magical. Oh, just magical.
And that's vibrating through the conversation. You can really still feel you've got that energy inside you from that night. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what the Camino does to you. Those moments to stay with you, and when you can look back on them, they do give you that extra high again, don't they? It takes you back to that moment, and you feel just the way you did in that moment. And
yes,
because you've just recently come back, I can still feel you're kind of buzzing a little bit from that. So. And it sounds like something to a throwback from 500 years ago, like no electricity and, dinner by candlelight and a bit of vino tinto and playing the guitar.
So simple. So simple. And that's like one of the things you take away from the Camino is just the simplicity of it all, that you don't need all of the frills that we live with, that we think we need. There's no Wi-Fi,
No.
but you didn't need it.
No.
Because you had each other and you had the experience. Yeah.
I think that's the one continuing theme that comes out of this podcast and in the interviews is the simplicity is the best thing about it. And, they say, the richest man is he who needs the least to be happy. And it sounds like, you're a kind of a millionaire on that night, with the things going on and the atmosphere and the fellowship and the camaraderie. So there you go. So it's Ermitas San Nicolas, San Nicolas Hermitage. I will find that place and I'll stick a link to it on our Facebook page, Camino de Santiago Pilgrims Podcast. Okay, so thank you very much for telling those lovely stories, Rachelle. So something tells me that you may well have met some interesting, funny characters along the way. I know I certainly did. Is there anyone that stands out? I mean, I know this question wasn't in the pre-interview questions that I sent you, but just trying to, off the
characters.
Top of your head.
I wouldn't say like funny. I mean, maybe there were some that I just can't think of off the top of my head. But a lot of people talk about these Camino angels that come into your life, and I would have to say a funny sort of. It's funny now that I look back at it. We were in Zubiri, and there were absolutely no no beds to be found because the municipal albergue was closed and just too many pilgrims. So we were left to one of the girls that I was traveling with, a young girl. She was desperate and decided she was going to knock on doors in Zubiri until she found someone that could accommodate us in their garage. And so she was lovely. She was just so fired up, and she wanted to do this, and she knocked and knocked and knocked on all these doors, and finally an older gentleman answered the door, and she said, I'm so sorry, this is such a strange question, but could we sleep in your garage? And he thought, well, yes, you can sleep in our garage, but that won't be comfortable. Let me drive you to Pamplona. So he and his wife drove us to Pamplona. So they were our first Camino angels, and there are people like that all along the way. Even just that, that one person that looks at you, that smiles and just genuinely says "Buen Camino" to you, that is not a pilgrim, that just like lights up your heart and just like makes your day, and just, it makes you keep going. So there are people like that all along the way, and yeah, so I would say that would definitely be one memory that I can think of people on the Camino that just, are memorable.
Yeah. I mean, now you're saying this Camino Angel idea concept. I mean, I'd never heard that before actually, but
Oh, really?
no, I haven't. No, I haven't. But I actually had something very similar happen to me in Leon, and to cut a very long story short, I ended up walking during the night out of the city just because I wanted the adventure of walking by the moonlight, and just to see what that was like, because you mentioned the Milky Way, which supposedly stretches across the sky, forever west towards Santiago. Anyway, I got lost.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I got lost pretty quickly, and trying to find your way around the city sometimes is hard enough, let alone in the darkness. And there was some kind of two drunk ladies across the road from me, and I could hear they were English, and I thought, oh no, I don't need this. Two drunk people kind of chatting to me. I need to find where I'm going. And anyway, this lady shouts over to me, are you lost, mate, kind of thing. And the accent was very, very similar to where I was from. Anyway, she ended up being from 10 miles from where I was born. Lived in the city of Leon, and kind of guided me back to the Camino when I was lost. So yeah, that was my Camino angel there as well. So interested in that concept. I've never heard that before. So very real.
Yes, yes.
Very real. And as they say, the Camino provides. That's always one of the most famous sayings. So that was my Camino angel. Anyway, so thanks for reminding me of that. Let's now shift gears a little bit. We talked about a lot of your favourites, and was there one place that you passed through that you thought, I'm definitely going to stop there next time I go to the Camino?
Well, because of that whole Zubiri thing where we couldn't find a bed, we didn't have a chance to really experience Pamplona. So Pamplona I would like to do, just because it's just such a big city, and there's so many historic sites there that I did not get a chance to see. But another place is Ontanas. As we were walking to Ontanas, we were going to walk through it. I just saw it, when you walk and walk and walk and walk and you don't see anything in sight, and then all of a sudden this like town appears and you're like, oh my gosh,
I stayed there.
It was beautiful. It looked beautiful. You stayed on Ontanas.
I did, yeah.
Yes. And I heard wonderful things, and I tucked into the little church there, and I thought that was beautiful. I'm like, oh gosh, I would love to have stayed here. So I would probably try to stay in Ontanas next time. It just looked like a lovely little town.
There's a swimming pool there as well. So in Ontanas.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, there's a swimming pool there as well. So
bonus.
Yeah, big bonus. So yeah, and yeah, it is weird because you're walking across the plain, aren't you, the Meseta, and all of a sudden you just see this kind of fold in the land, and there's just these houses and rooftops just wedged into this fold in the land, and yeah, it comes where you least expect it. So, Ontanas and Pamplona are two places you'd like to stay. You'd kind of recommend others visit as well. Okay, great. So,
among others,
among the whole thing, by the sounds of it. So let's talk about. I mean, I know you've already alluded excuse me, you've already alluded to the simplicity of the Camino, and that was one of the lessons that you took from it.
Hmm.
You're only just back into, shall we say, everyday civilian life, making the shift, from being a pilgrim for a
Hmm.
month or so. Is there one lesson that you took home with you that you thought, I'm definitely going to apply that to my everyday life?
I would say one of the reasons I went was letting go. I went on the Camino partly to learn how to let go of control over things, and just so I would say that I am enough. That's one of my lessons, that I'm enough. I don't need to be in control of everything. That dreams don't just have to stay dreams. Just all of it. There's just so many lessons, but I would say that I can let go. Not being in touch with my family the entire time. Here and there, yes, I would get text here and there, but I made it a point to experience the Camino on my own. That I could do this by myself. That I'm strong enough to do this, and I can just let go of being in control of things that I don't necessarily have to be in control of, or that I do. I don't know how to explain this exactly, but it was a big lesson for me to be able to have moments where I was alone and feel as if it's okay to be alone,
Mm.
that I can still do this. I would say one of the hardest parts for me was some of those lonely moments at the beginning as I was going into the meseta, because I had started off with these people that I had a great connection with, and then slowly people decided to go a little bit further than me, and I decided to hang back, and we all found our separate uh, paces and things like that, and at the beginning, part of me was like regretting it, like, oh, I should not have stayed there. I should have just kept going. I should have stayed with them, because I found myself being very lonely, because I was so used to, you know, just walking with somebody the entire time. And so that was a hard part of the meseta. But it was a lesson that I needed to learn, that, what, it's okay. It's okay to be alone. It's okay to feel lonely, because it's a feeling, and it's okay to have feelings. But by the end of it, I welcomed it, and I knew that it was just part of my journey, that I needed to learn that it was okay, that I can be alone and physically just be alone, but I'm not really alone. It's one of those little things, you're alone, but you're not really alone, and that I'm strong enough to do this, and I can do this. And there are plenty of people along the way that I was supposed to meet, and other people that I was supposed to meet, because I was alone, and it allowed me to make other connections with other people and other pilgrims. So, yeah, so that was one of the biggest lessons, I would say, that, you know,
So that,
yeah,
that that letting go, you
letting go.
spoke about. I
Yeah.
mean, in some ways, it's like maybe you were letting go of control over something at home, or something in your professional life or your personal
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
and you go away
All
for a
of those
month and you come
things.
back and everything's actually still all right.
Everything's okay. Like,
Yeah,
the world didn't end,
yeah,
and
yeah,
and maybe it was good. Maybe it was a good thing
yeah.
for to have some distance from some things, to have some perspective, and for everybody involved. So I think that was a big lesson for me. And coming back into quote unquote real life now, I'm still trying to apply that. Like, okay, you can take a step back. You don't need to to have your nose in everything. You know what I mean? Like, just let things happen. And that was another thing, is this welcoming prayer that I started my day with, is to accept everything that happens, and that I need to just let go of control of everything. Like,
Mm.
whatever happens, it's supposed to happen to help me heal myself and strengthen myself, and just so that I can learn about myself, and what I'm
Everything,
capable of doing.
everything is exactly how it's meant to be. That's kind
How
of,
it's supposed to be.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. The hard times and the easy times, the good times and the bad times, all of it. So it's supposed to happen
Yeah,
this way.
I completely identify with that, because I think when I first started walking, I had an idea of I needed to be in a certain place by a certain time, or I wouldn't get a bed, or this wouldn't happen, or that
Hmm.
wouldn't happen. And by the end of it, I'd kind of actually learned to just roll with the punches and just say, you know what? If that happens, everything's still going to be all right.
It's fine.
And
Yeah.
in some ways, you have to have a word with yourself and say, what's the worst case scenario here? And that is a lesson that you can apply it into everyday life as well. If this doesn't happen, what's the worst case scenario? Okay, I will be able to deal with it. And
Right.
it is that, just trusting in the eventual. I think the life on the road does help you to do that. And you mentioned the hardest part, or a hard part, was being alone.
Yeah,
Was
it
that the
was.
hardest part of the Camino for you? Was it something else?
I would say that was probably one of the hardest, most challenging parts of it, where I felt down, where I actually felt a low point was what I mentioned during that first part of the meseta, just being alone and sort of doubting myself and doubting my decisions to the decisions that I'm looking back now 2020, like, no, you did exactly what you wanted, the things you wanted to do. Why compromise that? This is your chance, this is your Camino, this is your experience. Do the things that you want to do, see the things you want to see. And looking back now, I think I am so glad that I did these things, because it was my Camino, and everybody else had their Camino, and they had experiences, people they were supposed to meet, and it's okay. So I would say don't compromise. And that's not to say that you can't go with a group and you can't do things as a group. That's fine if that's what you want to do. But if your heart's calling you and pulling you a different way, and you feel very strongly about that, I would say just listen to it, and try not to have any regrets about the decisions that you make, because again, they happen for a reason, and there's a reason you choose to do things. And yeah, just be content, and be content with the choices that you make, because there are lessons to be learned in all situations.
So in some ways, it's confirmed for you that every step you've taken, every move you've made this year to be on the Camino is definitely the best thing, and it's
Hmm.
giving you that headspace just to confirm everything that is, as we said, where it should be.
Right, exactly.
Perfect. Okay, so we are just going to dive into a little bit of kind of some quick fire questions. What's your favourite food on the
Sure.
Camino?
Ha, favorite food. Well, I can't necessarily say that it was the Pilgrims menus.
It
The
was
menus
they'd be
del
filling,
dia.
wouldn't they? They filled you up.
Sometimes, yeah, too much. I just like French fries up the, what? It's just like so many carbs. But I would say I really looked forward to my morning cafe americano. I went black coffee and some tortilla española. I did enjoy that. It's nice and, well, for the most part, usually warm. Sometimes not warm.
Sometimes a bit cold in the
Um,
middle, isn't it? If it's been sat on
so
one of those
sometimes
displays,
a
yeah,
little bit
yeah.
cold. Yeah, I did enjoy the occasional Napolitana chocolate. So a little chocolate croissant there in the mornings. That was a little
It's like
treat.
the
Uh,
turbo-sized croissants, aren't they?
oh
Yeah, massive.
goodness, they were huge. And then as I got into Galicia, I really, really appreciated like the soups, like the caldo gallego, and the seafood, like the grilled squid and the pulpo. So each region has its own little bit of charm and food. And after the Camino, I actually took a little side trip to Porto, so I enjoyed some pastéis de nata there and some good food over there. But yeah, all the food. I will eat all the food, and I miss it all.
So if
The
you get,
ham, the ham, the Iberico ham, jamón. Yeah,
wow,
I miss
yeah,
that.
yeah. So we're
Yeah.
basically saying the iberico ham, the tarta española, which is something, another food, another dish that someone mentioned a few episodes ago. And yeah, and the pulpo. You love the pulpo in Galicia. That's the
I liked the
octopus.
pulpo.
Yeah, that's the
Yes, I
octopus.
did.
Yeah.
I did like
What
it.
I like about the pulpo is he's got those, the octopus's suction pads on them as well, and like you kind of you're chewing on.
It might turn people off,
Yeah,
but yeah, give it a try. Try it at least once. You gotta try it
my
at least
wife can't
once.
bear to look at those things. She can't bear to look at them, and I was like, well, that's more for me then, dear. But yeah, so definitely recommend trying the pulpo as well.
Uh-huh.
If you are brave enough. We have a program in the UK which I never ever watch, by the way. Just for the record, it's called "I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here," and they make them eat all kinds of things like, I don't know, spiders' legs and cockroaches and all that kind of stuff.
Oh
So
my goodness.
it's probably the next step down from that, eating the pulpo. But yeah, it is delicious, isn't it? And they have it with a bit of paprika, the seasoning on top, with some potatoes,
good
as
olive
well.
oil.
Yeah.
Just all, it's so good.
Yeah,
All
so
of it's good.
that's what we're saying. Try the octopus, the pulpo, when you get to Galicia. And of course, for breakfast, the tortilla española, and they do a lovely café americano. So your black coffee in the morning. Lovely.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to wrap this up just by asking you now, Rachelle, if you could.
Yes.
If you were to talk to the version of yourself that first heard of the Camino when they were watching the way and thinking about doing it, and then a few years later, you're going to fast forward to who you are right now today, and you're going to try to convince that version of yourself to walk the Camino, what are you going to say?
I'm sure other people have said it, but it's just do it. Just do it. It's going to be the best thing that you've ever done. It's going to be the biggest challenge and the biggest accomplishment. You're going to discover so much about yourself, about the world, and other people and other cultures, and gosh, it's just going to be so empowering. And nothing ventured, nothing gained. So just do it. Just go.
Best thing you've ever done?
Myself. Yes, I would have to say best thing I've ever done. Yeah.
Well, if that
on my own. I mean, just do it,
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that are very, apprehensive to do it alone, and plenty of people do it alone. Plenty of single, solo women do it alone. So safe, obviously have your wits about you, but it is a safe place to be, really. Yeah, hands down, I would totally do it again. Recommend it to all my girlfriends. Just go, just do it.
And we've said 99.9% of the time people are the best versions of themselves. So you are, it's kind of like some.
Yes, and and they're all looking out for you. All pilgrims, we're all looking out for each other. So there are people around you everywhere. So
it's a fellowship for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Rachelle Smith, thank you very much for reliving your Camino with us. Buen camino, fellow peregrina.
Oh, thank you so much for giving me the chance to relive it again. It was beautiful. So thank you.
Wanderer, a life adventurer, said he's a